We're on an island called Lao, which is about 40 minutes by fast boat off the wharf of Ranong City, which is in middle South Thailand on the Andaman Sea. Okay, this particular group of sea gypsies are called the Mogen sea gypsies. There's about 5,000 or 6,000 left, going from Burma all the way down to Malaysia, Indonesia. And they have their own language, as I said, and it's not written. And we're trying to do something about that, but their own people and their own customs. And they worship pay respect to the spirits of the sea. They're beautiful people, and they don't have the sophistication or land, L-A-N-D. They don't have land knowledge. They know everything about the seas and about the oceans and about fish and about tides and the storms, but they don't have words for the days of the week. You don't need them on the sea. They don't have words for land ownership. They've never owned land. They've lived on their boats. And now that's all ending because of various governments and corruption, and there's no more fish. And so they have to come and live on a spit on a little piece of a forgotten island like this. And we came here by accident, as I told you before. We were dragged into it. Somebody said they're poor. And with this and now in Bangkok also, we're working with children in the construction sites. And most of them speak Cambodian or Burmese or Laotian. So we're trying to find the poorest of the poor. That's what Jesus would have done. The only way they can survive is if they can read and write and know a language and know their own culture and Thai culture. And you can't, right now, all they have is their own language, which is an old language, which nobody really knows. And we've been able, through some very bright, some scholars, university students, to record 500 words of this unwritten language. Nobody knows where it came from.
Our mission is to provide education, but in here it's exceptional because you see the health of people, they not are in the good condition. So at the beginning when we came here, the first thing that we try to prevent is to decrease the death rate of the children. Yeah. So since our original is just provide education, we shift into health problem to deal with health problems.
Well, you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start with the children and teach them their own language and teach them Thai and teach them to read and write so that they can be the bridge with the adults and to bring the adults. I mean, they don't know how to count. Excuse me, they can count, but they don't know how to add or subtract. It's not in the language. So therefore, when they go to market, they get cheated all the time. So we're changing all of that, and it's changing fast. Somebody said they're starving to death. We said, well, there was this wonderful group of people who came here and said that they would help them. Well, they didn't. So they're starving to death. Well, we're going to start a school. But to go to school, the children have to eat in the morning. And then the mothers, they're not eating either, so we have to make them the cooks. Because they don't know how to cook because the only food they'd ever had is on their boats. And here there's nothing. And then the mothers, the women that are pregnant, well, they have to come too because they have babies, and someday the babies are going to go to school. There was an old shack, a bigger shack, which we were using as a school, but it would flood and all the bugs. So we got a little bit of coin, a little bit of tin, meaning money, if you're Irish, and build a school. And it took about some very special crew of men. It took about 8 months to build it, off and on, between the tides and between the typhoons and the storms. And it was great. And we had to mix, you had to bring everything. There's no water here. There's no electricity. So we had to bring our own sand, our own cement. The oldest cement mixer in the county, on the planet is over there, the old crank. But we did it. We believe in children, we believe in education. I'll bet you, being very Catholic, I'll bet you a rosary or 10 Hail Marys. You're not going to find any people poorer in this country than these people. And so they're going to school, and they're learning to read and write. That's what we do. We're emergency people. We're crisis people. We have a kindergarten or a preschool, and it starts when the children are about a year old, because it's one of the Mogen customs that the older ones, if they're 4 or 5 or 6, they take care of the younger ones. So the school here has about 10 children who are a year and a half old, and then 4 and 5 and 6 years old. And that's great. That's great. They all come and learn. But the big thing is, there's still very little food here, so they come and we feed them. They eat. They eat. The Mercy House on the mainland is a glorious piece of work. We had to have a place for our staff to live. We had to have a place for the children, because their education on the island is not enough. And they've got to have a place that's safe to live with us. So it's in the city of Ranong town. Ranong is in the middle south of Thailand on the Andaman Sea coast, going towards Burma. And it's a home. It's a refuge. It's where we live. The children in the house on the mainland, who come every Sunday night and go back Friday night, the youngest is about 6 and the oldest is 16, 17. So we've got the whole range. There's lots of children on the island, about 120, but you take the best and the brightest. And those that we have great hope for, we've got 23, 24, 25 living with us in the house. And they go to a Thai school, so they go to government school, and they're there all day. And then in the afternoon, we pick them up again and bring them back to the house. And they get out of their school uniforms, put their old clothes on, and they do their homework. And we help them, and our staff helps them do the homework. Then they get ready have a bit of exercise and play games and sports and hopefully intellectual games. Then they eat, say their prayers, do a little more homework, and go to bed. But they go home on weekends. We have to send them home on weekends because the whole island has to be educated, and the parents have to know. The parents trust us unbelievably. The young women who, especially during this time of year, during the Western summer, meaning summer in Europe and the United States, they are our students, our best and our brightest, and they've come home for the summer. And they're helping train the children and train them to speak Thai, but they're helping them with their mathematics and helping them with their normal subjects. And then they go home with the children to the island so the children can show off the shacks that they live in and introduce them to their parents. And it's just great hope. And the children say, I want to grow up and be like these girls.